or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, hands it out again? Has anybody ever in history seen this? Isn't it always that after he takes power? Fujimori is a Peruvian gentleman who said before publicly, Peru needs an emperor. He needs a 10-year emperor at least. I'm not proposing myself, but I'm stating the idea. He said that in a speech a few months ago.
Mr. Falco?
Well, what's not being said in Peru right out loud, and it certainly hasn't been reported in the United States, but there is in Peru a dangerous tendency to look south to Chile, to the Pinochet experiment.
Sure.
And for years I've heard people saying in Peru, we need another Pinochet.
When you say people, which people?
Well, business people,
Educated
people of some affluence, but also cab drivers and shopkeepers. There's a frustration with the system. And in societies of this type, there's always a potential for a certain authoritarian streak in the culture. But the problem is that Chile isn't Peru, and Peru isn't Chile. And let's not forget that what happened in Chile happened at an enormous human cost, an enormous moral cost, which that country is still sorting out. But even so, I don't see Mr. Fujimori as replicating the Chilean experiment.
Ms. Rosenberg.
One of the dangers of this coup is that the people behind it, Mr. Fujimori is being controlled by certain military and ex-military officers. And the two most important people behind the coup, one of them was a lawyer for many years for drug traffickers,
right.
And the other one is a man who, with a serious record of human rights violations, he was in charge of a zone where a very notorious massacre was committed. These are not people with a commitment to human rights. They are not people with a commitment to ending drug trafficking. And even though those are serious problems, this coup is not going to do anything to help solve
And you're
them.
saying they are controlling what he is doing? Is
Yes,
that what you're saying?
I am saying that.
Mr. Ambassador?
Well, my impression is that it's not. However, I think that the important thing, I'm sorry, for public opinion is to keep a watch, because indeed there is a danger that when the Congress disappears, then there is no control. I mean, then public opinion, both at home and abroad, have the duty to control and survey that no human rights violations are committed and that no excesses are committed, and that the speed to go back to constitutional government is as quickly as possible.
How can you keep watch? There's no judicial system anymore. You can't file a habeas corpus petition. Where are people going to report these things to? I mean, all the institutional mechanisms to control the government and the military have been removed.
Where was the military in terms of fighting the drug war? There were so many allegations that were out there about the military supporting, or at least certainly not fighting, the drug trafficking that Fujimori's administration was going after. Mr. Lehrer?
When Fujimori is the most important advisor on drug trafficking, resigned in last January, Mr. Hernando de Soto, who is well known in this country, he accused the government, Mr. Fujimori and the military, of being responsible for running the 5 airports that legally receive and let go small planes from Colombia that take and bring money and take drugs. And everybody knows about that. The military are involved. And if corruption is now the thing we are discussing about, around Fujimori's own family, there was a big public issue on corruption. So, what I would like to say, please, is what is Mr. Ambassador doing representing the government? He is in total agreement with the lady that has said more democracy is what we need. He is in total agreement with what I have said as far as human rights is concerned. So why is he representing the government?
I can answer this, because what are the alternatives? I mean, we are talking about evils. Yes, evils do exist. But let me tell you something which is very important. First, we are talking about a trespassing on the law. And this is a very serious matter. But I mean, no one has said...
on which law?
I'm sorry, the breaking the law, I mean, the constitutional order has been broken.
Yeah.
I mean, by these tragic events. But on the other hand, what has happened is that we live in a country, in Peru, in which at least half of the population, and I don't mean the drug traffickers, are outside and against the law. I mean, for instance, 1/3 at least of the gross national product is produced by people who don't obey the legal codes, the industrial code. They produce outside and against the law. They
You
don't.
mean the farmers and others who are involved in the coca?
No, not the coca. I mean industry. I mean what the people call the informal movement in Peru. About 40% of the housing in Lima is built against the laws, and 60% of the transport. So we are talking of a country in which the social prestige of law is very low. So, I mean, the answer is, what is the alternative? I am not happy with the situation as it is. I mean, but is there any other valid alternative in this moment?
Mr. Falkhoff, what about that?
Well, I think that you don't establish the rule of law at the lowest levels of a society by breaking it at the highest levels of a society. We have to start somewhere. And I think that the government has put itself, what worries me is that the Peruvian government has put itself in a position where it's very difficult to backpedal now. What institutionality is it going to go back to?
But that sounds fine, but in reality, wasn't this a president who had moved pretty far down the road of creating a capitalist open market system, and certainly farther than...
Well, that would be a subject for another program.
Well,
I'm less impressed with that than some.
But there had been reforms, economic reforms.
There have been some macroeconomic structural reforms.
Facing enormous obstacles from the terrorists, from the Shining Path, the drug trafficking and so forth, backed into a corner. What else should this president have done?
Well, it seems to me that if in the framework of the democratic political community, you can't, I'm talking about the Congress, you can't sell a program of economic reform, then obviously the society is not ready for an economic reform, and that's all there is to it. It's not an inevitable thing. People have the right to fail democratically, if that's their right, but they have the right to make these choices.
And has the United States response been the correct one?
I think I'd like to make one point about the economic program, which is that it's depended greatly on international loans, which are now going to be cut off. I think the economic gains that were made under Fujimori are now imperiled. I think the United States has responded strongly. That's very good. I think it should respond more strongly yet. It should advocate the cutting off of these loans with sanctions, because you have a very great danger in Latin America of this spreading. And I think the message needs to be clear that the solution is more democracy.
All right, well, Ms. Rosenberg, Mr. Falkhoff, Ambassador McLean, and Mr. Letts, we thank you all for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Again, the main stories of this Wednesday. An air and arms embargo went into effect against Libya. The United Nations approved the measures to force the Gaddafi government to hand over suspects in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. President Bush declared downtown Chicago a disaster area, releasing federal funds to help pay to clean up the flood-damaged business district. Good night, Judy.
Good night, Robin. That's our news hour for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'm Judy Woodruff. Thank you and good night.
Part of helping the world live and communicate better is keeping it well informed.
Salmon runs are in trouble. We'll show you the latest scientific techniques to help preserve them.
Good evening, and welcome to another
Application a casino, which it is not. I'm Rick Myers.
If you would like to respond to this editorial, write feedback, KATU, Post Office Box 2, Portland, Oregon, 97207.